Don't breathe too loud.
Chris, as you're eating, give me your best.
How much caffeine?
What kind of American are you?
Jamaican.
What kind of American are you?
In Jamaican.
Let me get a mouthful of food.
Yeah, what kind of American are you?
Put on
Yeah,
these
put the
glasses.
glasses.
Put these glasses on. Are we recording? Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, we're recording.
Okay, perfect.
I record all this.
You don't hear Roy's official voice?
What kind of American are you?
Jamaican. Jamaican. Off of fly. Think of Cool Running.
I gotta mute his mic. I can't listen to him.
I know.
Hold on. Chew it up. Go ahead.
I got nothing.
Come on.
Come on.
Think of Cool Running.
Hey, you try it.
No. You're
something
you.
This is the fun part.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
American are you?
What kind of American are you?
No,
They all did it. It was terrible.
yeah, it's like I can't.
What kind of American are you?
Roy,
Mamma mia!
Yeah, Italian.
it was from another planet. That wasn't even the same planet.
It's a me, Roy.
It's me, Roy, from Jamaica.
It's a
I come
Mario.
to fix your gun. Hey everybody, it's Eric, and thank you for checking out another HatchetCast episode. And today we have a special guest, Ben from Wiseman Company, is joining us for the conversation, and we have our usuals, Chris and Roy's running the panel. Seth is actually going to be running the computer back there, so we'll be pulling up all the types of stuff on the screen. If you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify or if you're watching it on YouTube. It really does help out the channel. And also comment your conversation below. Like, keep the conversation going. It really does help us out. For those who are new to the podcast, the way that we structure it is we usually talk about some sort of current event or headline, and then we talk about some gun industry stuff, and then also some conspiracy stuff, if we get to that. And then also we talk about the Lord. We talk about Jesus Christ and a Bible topic, and how we can implement that in our lives and what we're studying currently. So, without further ado, gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, you want to throw your food away?
Is there a trash can?
Just take it off the
Yeah,
table.
just put it under your shirt.
Put it under the table.
So, we watched the Civil War movie today. Which, who directed that movie? We talked about it earlier. It wasn't Guy Ritchie.
No, I got it. I got it right here. Stand by. Yes, we watched it. We called it a matinee today. The director, Alex Garland,
What movies has he done?
Ex Machina,
Ex Machina.
a movie just called Men, which I doubt had anything to do with actual men.
Yeah.
That's some of the highlights of his.
By the way, Ex Machina was actually a very good movie. So
Yeah.
you should
Wasn't the
definitely
premise
check
like
that out.
AI? It was against AI, right?
Yep. Before the whole trend of like AI even happening, it's
Yeah.
kind of exposed the dangers of it. So
Oh,
it's kind of a
28,
weird movie, but it was good.
28 days later.
Yeah, 28 days later.
That one was pretty good.
Yeah. It's actually, the producing studio was Alpha 24, A24, which I feel like they are a growing production company in Hollywood right now.
They're white hot.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. They're putting out all the propaganda. So
What was the budget, Seth?
50 mil, I
Was
think.
was it 50 mil?
what were some of your guys' expectations going in?
So what was it about?
Well, you answer that question, Roy.
All right, so let's just, for Chris did not watch it, so let's just give a quick little outline.
He's almost worthless for this podcast.
Yeah, so Chris did not watch it. So obviously it's supposed to be from an unbiased direction that you're supposed to be seeing it. So it was not supposed to have any kind of political pull. Okay, that's what they're saying about it. It was not supposed to have any kind of political pull in any direction whatsoever. It was to not glorify war. It was to show you how bad war can be and how awful war is. So taking that into consideration.
Jump down in the comments right now if you can and leave a comment. Do you think it was left-leaning or right-leaning or neutral? Let's jump down in the comments. Leave a comment behind if you're watching this so we can get a kind of a gauge. If you saw the movie, let us know if you thought it actually was neutral.
That'd be interesting.
Anytime I gauge a movie, I always look at the release date. The reason why I look at the release date is because in that typical like March, April, like range are all of your dump movies or all the bad movies.
Well, so far it's dumpy.
because it's after Oscar season. Oscar season is that October, November, December, January when that rolls out.
I thought May was like a hot season though.
It is because
May is the start of the summer blockbuster movies.
Like Avengers came out.
Avengers came out May 2nd. This coming out April 12th that is not a good sign. That is not a good sign.
And Chris is our local
you
movie expert. He
I
actually
used to do movie reviews
at a very high
on
level.
Instagram.
Actually,
Very high.
very high level.
Very high.
How many followers did you have over there?
Very high.
Very high. That's what I thought.
He actually had a website, I think, Rotten Potatoes.
Well, just to let you guys know,
Oh yeah.
spoiler alert,
I
because we're
almost-
going to tell you every bit of this movie.
Yeah.
I have a really good feeling that Ben is going to dive really deep into this here and let you know everything about the movie.
So deep.
Yeah, so deep. So, all right. So, Chris, you haven't watched it. So, what are some questions that you might have?
Yeah, so obviously I want to know about the acting.
Okay.
Did it have decent acting? Script writing is very, very important. Something
yeah.
very boring with good script and good writing and good dialogue can make all the difference.
Okay, so let's answer
Yeah.
your questions one at a time.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
So acting, I think that was loud. Acting, I think, was on point. I think there was. I mean, Kirsten, Batman's girlfriend or Spider-Man's girlfriend,
It's girl, one of those superheroes.
whatever. Spider-Man's girlfriend. He or she did a great job. I thought she did a good job. You could see the effect of war.
She looked like an old catcher's mitt.
Yeah, she looked like leathery, just like war had been waging on her, or she's a war journalist, and you could see that it has obviously affected her. And then the young girl, who's an up and coming photographer, she looked pretty naive. So like, I think as far as the acting goes, it was pretty good. There was an excessive amount of F-bombs that I don't know why in a movie they're like, if I say the F-bomb 15 times, and F-ing this and F-ing that, it makes it more down to earth. It doesn't. It makes you sound like an idiot. So I don't know why there were so many. I'm talking like an excessive amount of F-bombs. It was.
So I did not actually notice that, but I honestly really wasn't paying attention to that much. I was kind of just wrapped up into.
I was ripping this movie apart in my mind. So.
Keep in mind, Eric is a very hard critic when it comes to movies. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to gauge it, Eric is very, very critical. Chris is on the lenient side.
Yeah.
Roy likes anything.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
All right, so that leads me to my next question.
so hold on, let's go
No,
back.
wait,
to acting.
hold on.
We haven't
Hold
all
it. Excuse
answered
me.
here. Yeah. So let me.
Excuse me.
Put another taco in your mouth.
Chris, go ahead. So I felt like the acting was good, just like what Eric said. They looked weathered. They looked tired. So I felt like the acting actually was really good. Now we'll go into the script after Ben.
Yeah, I didn't even think about acting.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty darn good. Like Eric said, Kirsten Dunst, she looked like she had seen some stuff, man. Like she was worn out. The Hispanic guy that was with them, good actor. The young girl, like doe-eyed and naive the whole time. And then she kind of gets like this war lust at the end.
Yeah.
And she really sold it. I think the acting was actually decent. Maybe probably one of the highlights of the movie.
Warlust? What do you mean by that?
She just was trying to get into it. She was in the way. She wanted the picture.
Yeah.
Where in the beginning she forgot to take pictures. That's how she knew she was. Like she was just so shocked by everything that she was like beating herself up that she was so stunned that she didn't even remember to get her camera out.
Yeah.
But at the end, she's the reason everybody dies. So,
Yeah.
but she was just at the front line, chomping at the bit, first one through the door. So you can kind of see her transformation throughout the whole movie.
The extras, though,
Ooh, yeah.
the extras, like the people who are like the soldiers and stuff like that, trash.
Yeah, I would
Hot
say that.
garbage. Main characters they did a good job.
Why is it trash? Why are they trash?
So,
They were NPCs. They were just droids.
NPCs.
They were just droids.
Yeah.
But that's how like most of the population would be. Is
No,
kind of
No,
Worse.
this was
So they're also soldiers, and it was just, yeah.
So being like an NPC, meaning in all the wrong ways in a movie
Yes.
that you don't want to see.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like over exaggeration of terrible rifle carries, like just no weapons handling. Their gear looks like it's sagging off by its buckles. Now the civilian side,
So let's go before you
yeah, go
cover
ahead.
too deep into
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as
yeah.
far as weapons carry and the weapons in it, because I think that's a
category in its own.
That's a category
that
in its
is.
own.
Well, I'll save that.
So we'll save that.
Yeah.
The script, like Chris said, I mean, a script is key, right? I mean, that's huge. We'll start with Ben over on your side. Let you finish off.
Oh, script overall was a C minus, I think. You know, I knew what I was getting into before. Like the director wanted it to be a road trip movie in Civil War, so it's more of any road trip movie you've ever seen. It kind of takes that timeline, that path. It could have been the potential to be way cooler was there. I mean, so much stuff. They left stuff vague, which they said they were going to do. You know, I knew that. I give the script a C minus. Again, I came in with very low expectations for this movie. I mean, low. So C minus.
I came in with higher expectations for the snacks, the popcorn, licorice, and the cola, the soda pop.
I didn't
a
eat
whole
any
different
of the
conversation.
snacks. I didn't eat any of them.
So I came on looking forward to that. Very low expectations for the movie. As far as the script, I would agree with Ben. It left. All right, so they wanted it to be very vague, right? Kind of left up to your imagination. But then if you hear the actors talk about it in interview, it's almost like there was so much more there. So what I'm curious about is how much did they actually take out of the script? Because the actors talk about it in the aspect of like there's so much more information that was provided that was not provided in the movie that we watched today. They left it really open to your imagination, which I think they didn't give, for me, they didn't give enough there to kind of like just draw me in. They didn't give me enough information. Like it was too open.
Yeah, like some of the best post-apocalyptic movies are like they give a specific scenario, like Waterworld, like
Yeah.
the polar ice caps have melted and the whole world is water.
Yeah.
But one man.
One woman.
I think as far as the script, the one thing that they did have going for them in order to remain unbiased is they viewed it through the lens of a photographer. Yeah. And that was actually, I thought, a really interesting take and a very neutral way to have it. Because usually your news press are supposed to be completely unbiased. So that was a smart move. As far as the script in terms of, I like kind of what you were saying, I wish that I wish there was more depth into how the conflict started.
Into the factions.
Yeah,
And-
into the
and-
factions and who they were and who was winning. Because there was a part where it's like, well, I guess we were at the end of this, which they kind of alluded to a little bit. But I would love more meat about the start of this. Like, how did things lead from A to Z? You know.
Yeah. I'd like to really know, like the factions, the little bit of backstory behind the faction. You know, at least diving into those different areas to get a little bit of an idea about where they were fighting from and where. I mean, it's even like the one scene with the sniper, you know, that has his fingernails painted. How that particular scene, it's just like, well, who are you shooting at? They're shooting at me.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Right. Like a little bit more information there would have told. I don't know.
That scene was kind of dropped in there. It just
was
felt like
was-
completely disconnected.
Yes, it was completely disconnected from the movie. Like it didn't have. I don't know. It was almost, for the exception of watching a dude with painted fingernails and some bright hair with another man laying on his back.
For all we know, we only know that Texas and California teamed up, which was the Western Front.
Yep.
Florida was off on its own and couldn't get support. And then you had basically D.C.
Oh, wow. So here you go. I guess in Wikipedia, according to the Loyalist states is Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nebraska, all the northern states, the Carolinas. The Florida Alliance was the southern belt, the Bible Belt. And then the New People's Army is, of course, the upper west, Midwest, like Idaho, Washington State, Montana. And then the Western Forces was just California and Texas. So that's kind of weird.
Which, people said that was weird. I guess it makes a lot of sense. Like I heard Tim Pool talk about this. It makes a lot of sense because those are two states right now, like literally right now, that could be their own country. They have their own economies. I think Texas's economy is like in the top 10 in the world. And that's out of countries. Obviously, California is just as big. So I think it was cool that they made a point. The reporters made a point that whoever got to DC first was going to be the victor. Whoever got the president first. But he said once everybody's there, they're all going to kill each other anyway.
Yeah, that actually was a good point.
And I was like, yeah, because power hates a vacuum.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
All right. My next question. This is a very important question. Let's talk action. Action scenes. You know, you think of your Omaha Beach scene, right?
Okay, none of that
Saving
was there.
Private Ryan. The bounding scene in Heat, right?
Ben, take it away.
Black Hawk Down. Was there any of that? Is there any cool action scenes that you can pull away from this movie?
No, you got to. I mean, if there is, you really got to squint.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like make it happen. You just named movies that were obviously like in everyone's top 10 as far as action scenes go.
Yeah.
I will say the audio on Gunfire was really good.
That's a good takeaway.
Because a lot of times they'll just, they make it little pew pews and suppressors don't sound anything like suppressors.
Yeah.
The audio is good. Could have been the theater we were in, but I thought the audio was good. The action. The best action scene where I thought like, oh, edge of my seat kind of was when the Boogaloo Boys were doing work.
They were in the movie.
And they-
the Boogaloo
Yeah, they
Boys?
clearly depicted.
They had the shirts.
Yep.
Yeah.
They clearly depicted
Yeah.
that. The other action scene is at the end when they're invading the White House. Was it realistic? No.
No.
Was the gunplay good? No. But it gave you a little bit like, holy smokes, like they're shooting up DC right now. Like a little bit. That's the best I can do. But again, I came in with such low expectations. So
Yeah.
Probably I would say the action was very, very kind of subpar.
You got to rate it A to F.
Oh man, I'd definitely go F.
F. It's failed.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I feel like it was a complete fail. I feel like it could have been.
I'll give it a D minus.
Yeah. So I don't know. The gunplay is what really did it for me, but obviously I'm going to be fairly harsh.
Yeah,
on
gunplay
that.
is never as good as we want it to
No,
be.
and I think the gunplay could have been better though with the technology that we obviously have in CGI.
You made a good point. Like, when was the only time they fired live rounds?
Oh, and no, we were talking about Steven's movie.
Oh,
Steven's movie. So we were talking about, all right, so it's Stalker, right?
Yeah. Stalker.
Okay, so our buddy Steven with Retro Media Digital, right?
Retro Digital Media.
Retro Digital Media. He was just talking about the ability and the things that they've unlocked in DaVinci as far as edit.
Oh, I like after.
After, and how, that he can actually place brass on the ground and things like that. And, in these scenes of action where rounds are coming out, casings are coming out, they're falling on the ground, and you can obviously tell that they were blanks.
Yeah.
Which is okay. We know they're going to be shooting blanks. Well, no duh.
But you could see the
But you could
blanks.
see the
Yeah,
blanks.
there's blanks all over the ground.
Correct. There's blanks all over the ground, so that just kind of takes away from that entire. Where I was like, okay, that could have been.
Yeah, and
That could have been a decent action scene. I could have gave that a.
Your budget's
a
$50
DSC.
million though. Like the normies aren't going to notice it, like
Yeah.
you said. But
Yeah.
you got blanks laying. You could have just. It's one scene. Just sprinkle some casings on the ground, man. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a so it's a movie that's designed to. They didn't want to leave any genre out.
Yeah.
So they wanted those that are preparing for a civil war, but they also wanted the normies that are out there that just I kind of want to see what civil war is going to look like. So they didn't want to leave any genres out. So I think you got to play to both of those sides. I mean, so for me, when you got an action scene and the next thing I see as the camera kind of rolls by that there's a whole bunch of blanks laying on the ground, it's like, okay, well maybe that was a C rating action scene. Immediately goes to a complete fail for
Right.
me, based on that. So now the sound, like what Ben said, was fantastic. Funny thing though, is I was a couple days prior to this, I was watching some different videos and reading some other reviews, and the sound was something that a lot of people actually complained about because they said it was overbearing. That it was
perfect.
That
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that I felt like it was perfect though.
Yeah.
So I thought the sound was really, really good.
Oh boy, buckle up.
I'm sensing an F in the near future.
From a rating of A to F, you're getting expelled. That's where I'm at. With it.
go right to detention.
You're going straight to jail. Straight to jail.
You should
The
be put in
action-
prison for making this movie.
So here's why I give this an absolute abysmal, the worst action I've ever seen in my entire life rating. Is because if your point of the movie is to show how war is terrible.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you for anybody who's experienced war, if you've seen war footage in Ukraine, this is nothing that. This is Godzilla without Godzilla. That's how bad the action is. It is absolutely atrocious and just horrible. And the reason why I say that is because it's honestly, I think it was a failure on their consultants. They didn't hire consultants that were coaching them in a good way. A perfect example of good consultants was the SEAL Team show on ABC. They actually brought in real operators.
Yeah, I saw that.
They actually, one of the guys who, because originally they were going to go like, yeah, go to get some Black Hawk gear from the 90s and just throw it on these guys. And there's like, that would have killed the show immediately. Nobody cares about the drama of the SEALs. They care about the gunplay, the gear, the tactics. That's just cool stuff. So in this movie, they had the opportunity to do that. They had the opportunity to show that. The other thing is companies in the gun industry will literally give it to you for free just to have it in the movie. So you don't even have to have a budget for gear. They will give it to you. And that's what I don't think the movie industry understands. Maybe you can hire Barrel Hatchet and Wiseman Company for consulting later. But
Hey, what about me?
Yeah. And Chris can rate your movies and eat popcorn.
That sounds good, Eric.
The name's Street Shark.
Yeah. As far as like the military uniforms were terrible. They were wearing Condor body armor, which was terrible.
Tons of gloves with knuckle protection on it.
Knuckle protector gloves.
Yeah.
The special operators had bump helmets with their
No Ear
plate
Pro.
carriers.
No Ear Pro.
No Ear Pro. The other thing also is it's like if you had done just a tiny bit of research, like a little bit, you would have noticed that like we don't drive Humvees without turrets everywhere. There's armor everywhere. Everywhere's got armor. Nobody's running around with frickin' okay, the other thing also, nobody's running around with an 18-inch rifle with a carbine gas system.
We're diving into equipment, so you might as well just go into it.
So, anyways, with the action scenes, there was just
They got expelled.
yeah, they got expelled. It was one of those things where they had the opportunity to show the true carnage of war. They had the opportunity to show how absolutely miserable it absolutely is. Like, you know, we see it in Ukraine. The guys are like, man, you know, it looks so cool. And then it shows them in the trenches and there's water just pooled up in their trench. Like they could have showed the raw greediness and you can capture that. Black Hawk Down captured that. A lot of these other great movies, Saving Private Ryan, captured the raw reality of war. And they could have done that in this movie and they didn't drop the ball. They dismantled it and pooped on it and threw it outside.
I think that there's only what's his name? The actor with the red glasses. I can't even remember his name.
Toadstool.
What's his name?
Private Toadstool.
Jesse Plithman. I felt like his part that he played in the movie was probably the most intense part.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he's
agree.
probably one of the only paid actors. Everybody else that came across, it was nobody.
Yeah.
Like they never were in any other movies. That guy's in a ton of movies.
Yeah.
So
He did great. I think he did great. And I actually appreciated the scene.
yes.
So here's spoiler alert. Do the button.
Hold on.
Here it comes. He is essentially committing genocide.
Yeah.
So he's genociding. Like they stumble upon what he's doing, and he's like sprinkling lime in this pit, and he's literally putting lime on hundreds of dead bodies. And I appreciated that scene because it captures the reality of what I think would happen if it was a civil war. You would see genocide on a mass scale. You would see genocide on a micro scale, but happening everywhere. Think about all the people that like hate their coworker at work or a family member that they're mad at. You'd see murder. This movie didn't
Who
capture
lives in
any
an
of that.
HOA? Who lives in an HOA?
We have murder happening in cities now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
an absolute, like right now in New York, they have a thing where they're going up and randomly stabbing people or punching people in the back of the head or random like you would see crime, rape, pillaging, so much more. Ethnic cleansing would be rampant. And so I appreciated that scene because it showed a more realistic version of what I think would end up happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting thoughts on that. All right. So now into some a little bit more deeper questions. So, why are you laughing at me?
Send it.
Why are
Chris.
you laughing at me? That wasn't a swear word, by the way, for the audience out there. I keep it clean here.
Yeah, that's right. We all keep it clean.
All right. Deeper question is, overall, was there an overall theme or message that they were trying to convey that you got, that the director was trying to convey by the time the credits kind of rolled?
So a message, underlying message like propaganda.
Yes, that or just a message that the movie was trying to convey to the audience. What was that?
Okay.
Yeah, it was propaganda was the main message.
Yeah.
In what way? So kind of expound upon that.
Everything. I mean, from the beginning, the different writers, the different news outlets competing for stories, some being good, some being bad. New York Times was brought up. The Boogaloo Boys, like I said, the Hawaiian shirts and what their role was.
Cities were safe havens too.
Yeah, like safe haven
That doesn't make
cities. It doesn't. No, it doesn't. A lot of what is it? What's the equal opportunity type?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Equity.
Tons of
inclusion.
equity,
Tons of, yeah.
equity and inclusion. Tons. Like you saw it with roles. You
Yeah.
saw it with the different people they came across. It was just a big propaganda movie. The president is Donald Trump. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Essentially.
It's not. They talked about him getting his third term. He's never going away.
Every white person in that movie was either rude.
Yeah.
Every white person was bad.
Yeah.
Every white
people
person
were
was bad. There was. It's just it was, as Roy said in the beginning. If they tried to stay neutral, they got expelled for that because they did not stay neutral. I don't think at all.
I think for the normies that are out there, they will probably feel like it stayed neutral.
Yeah.
But for anyone that has any ability to
Interpret.
interpret and think on their own,
Yeah. I mean, you can't avoid it. Like
you can't avoid it.
Yeah,
So
it was
ben
propaganda.
pretty much covered every bit of it. There was roles that were played in positions.
They were like this. They're essentially saying this is what's going to happen if the right wins. Like if they get their way, we're going to have civil war. There's going to be blood in the streets. This is going to be the problem.
Genocide.
Yeah. They also mentioned, remember, the one lady says, "Oh, you captured the Antifa massacre."
Oh, that's the other one. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
how the one reporter
Yeah.
got famous because she was there because she saw the government massacre Antifa and she took the pictures.
Oh,
Of it.
that's political messaging there for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So those little innuendos and I think the overall message was to try to make it seem like, oh well, civil war would be terrible with some biases in there, but I think that they missed that boat. They almost made it like, oh, kind of cool. Like civil war would be pretty cool because the carnage was not nearly enough. Like there was still electricity in the city while they're doing that, and it's like if you shoot 5 bullets, which happened in North Carolina, you shoot 5 bullets at a little power station, 80,000 homes go out of electricity for 3 weeks. So like electricity, it'd be dark. The whole thing would be dark. You would have no electricity. You'd have no running water. But it was almost like you could go to the front line for a couple of days and then go back home and just hang out like it's normal.
They had internet.
Yeah, they had internet.
They had internet at a hotel, so they had internet at a hotel. She was able to upload.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll give them credit. They tried to touch on it. Like they had no cell phone service the closer they got and stuff like that. But it still wasn't as apocalyptic as it would be. There was parts of the country that were unfazed by it. They said that, like small towns, things like that. Midwest was unfazed. But Eric's right. It's like if you're in the middle of a war zone, I'm sorry. Like
It's supposed to be Civil War. It's ramped up. It's like it's Civil War on a large scale. It's not supposed to be Civil War where it's just popping off in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where you have these, where you have these sections where people are still like, oh, I'm just going to, and it hasn't affected our area yet. Well, no, this is Civil War on a large scale, not a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you had civil war popping off, you would see crime shoot up in local areas that aren't even affected because it's like, oh, we're in a war, and it's almost like there's no bars held. The rule of law is gone. Governments are gone. So now it's pretty much you can do whatever you want, and like if you look at any war zone, you'll never see an intact window. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Every window, like even like it's always like, oh, there's an intact window. Go get a rock and break it.
Yeah.
Like it's literally, if you look at some of like, remember The Quiet Place? You ever seen that movie?
Oh yeah.
That was a perfect picture of like everything is old, everything is torn down. There's tents that are like that was a perfect picture of what I feel like it would look like. And Civil War made it seem like
They talked about fuel a little bit. Like for a tank of gas, it was $300 American. But if you had Canadian money, that was like worth something. I'm like, come on.
I didn't get that. What was the?
I guess the inflation was so bad in the United States, but Canada was still holding it together.
$300 got you a sandwich,
Yeah, $300
Yeah,
got you. Like no one wanted American currency
Mm.
anymore.
So they were able to get a tank of fuel for 300 Canadian.
Yeah, if you want to look at an urban center that has experienced conflict, go look at pictures of Bakhmut and go look at pictures of Ukraine in the urban centers like this. That's what it looks like. It looks like that. Just unlivable carnage.
Yeah, because they still had like airplanes were still a thing. Like they had choppers. All
Yeah.
this stuff is still drones are still available. Like they would decimate cities. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
When did they start production on this? That's actually what.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I feel like they left out
Filming.
some
Go
stuff.
down to filming.
So,
March 15th, 2022.
what? Principal began in Atlanta on March 15th, 2022.
2 years after COVID to the day.
And also after Ukraine. Ukraine had already been going on.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like they could have taken a little bit more from what a modern battlefield looks like. Yeah. So
I think it goes back to their advisors. Their advisors were
Yeah, but these
Should've been fired.
lefties don't want to listen. It's like they're the smartest people in the room. I mean, remember the gas station with the hillbillies? Like the hillbillies were bad.
Oh yeah.
the hillbillies.
Oh,
the hillbillies.
they're
was
the
about to
ones
ask that
stringing people
question.
up. Like,
Yep. Always the country folks are just the like hills have eyes mongrel like
And the
creatures.
guy hanging in the car wash. Oh, I got a family.
Yeah.
And he was a looter.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
that's what they said he was. He's
Yeah.
a-
And I think one of them was like a Mexican dude too.
Yeah.
One of the guys they had strung up.
Yeah. So
Remember the necklace I pointed out?
Oh yeah, and also of course the guy, one of the rednecks, he had a cross on his.
Oh,
he had
I
a
remember that, yeah.
cross necklace. Yeah. So he was a Christian. Is what they are proposing that this extremist is a Christian.
Yeah, so it was as far as
Propaganda.
as Chris's question goes, it was propaganda. That was the message.
Yeah.
It was a very firm, hey, this is what's going to happen
Yeah.
if they get in charge.
Wow. Oh, dude, look at this. So the Hollywood Reporter reported that ticket buyers were equally conservative and liberal. Lie. While Deadline wrote that 52% were left wing. Wow. Only 17% were right wing. That's interesting.
yeah. How do they know that? I don't know. How do they know that? Where do they get that intel from? That information? I mean, obviously you're buying online, so I mean they track what you're doing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that.
So whenever you're
Came from Deadline. Who knows if they're accurate or not?
Fandango, Seth, when you purchased those on Fandango, did you have to answer a
This
questionnaire?
this IP address bought a bong and these tickets all in one day.
Must be left leaning.
Oh gosh.
What else, Chris?
So my final question, and I just kind of want your overall total score of the movie. Let's say out of 10, 10 being the best movie you've ever seen, 1 being the absolute trash movie you've ever seen.
Well, you don't give out tens for anything, Chris.
That's correct. So you can give that, but before that, I want to go into like why make this movie? Like, what's the underlying? Can we go conspiracy? Like
Stir in the pot.
Clearly, you made a movie called Civil War leading up to a release of an election year. Why do you do that? So I just want to know your guys' thoughts as to why the purpose of this movie is being made.
Well, I mean, it's not. You left a lot out there. Yeah, it's an election year, but it's probably the last time we'll have a quote unquote election. Maybe, like
Wow.
the stuff that's going on in this country. We're on the verge of civil war. I'll say it. We're on the verge of civil war. So I think they're just stirring the pot. I think it's low hanging fruit if you want to sell tickets, you get a little bump in Hollywood that you made kind of a lefty leaning propaganda movie. I just think these people are just opportunists. That's really all I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Go ahead, Roy.
No. Okay. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you go.
You go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
I'll go.
No,
right,
you
go ahead,
hang
Roy.
up.
Yeah,
no,
wait,
you
you-
hang up.
So obviously a movie that was designed to be completely neutral, seen through the eyes of a photographer as through the media. They did a decent job of that because, the media was on, the Western Front. It seemed like they had a better relationship with the Western Front.
Yep.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a better relationship with the Western Front, but they did, they did kind of show it through both, all little bit, tiny bit from all perspectives. But it's supposed to be completely neutral all the way down through. and it's not supposed to have any political pull or political background.
Yeah.
You know, going to the movie before, if you do any research on it, it's not supposed to have any political pull like it's supposed to. That was the whole purpose behind Texas and California joining an alliance together. So you have two from one end to the other when it comes to the extreme side, supposedly. Okay, super conservative,
Super liberal.
super liberal. And they join forces because you have this fascist president. Okay, so they put away their differences to join together to fight against this one cause of this president that they need to overthrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're certainly not emulating doddering, scrambled egg brains Joe Biden. Doesn't sound like they're even attempting to even make
No way.
any angle towards that.
No, not whatsoever. They're attempting to make it from someone that portrays to be more bold, you would say, right?
Yeah, outspoken, charismatic, because the opening scene is him practicing his speech, being like strong and charismatic.
And getting more bold
Yeah.
with it as he's practicing it. He's like, hey, I need to sound more like an authority. I need to sound more firm. So he starts off relatively very low in his approach, as he speaks, and then he gets louder and louder and louder, and starts to stand taller and taller and taller. And the camera kind of zooms in a little bit, and it's supposed to be this, portraying this very bold type individual. So we know who they're going after there.
Guess the color of the tie.
Red.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. So, and then also Antifa massacre. Like, I mean, it was
Just the end scene when they're like, is it capture? And they're like, no, kill
only. Yeah.
kill only. And I'm like, I doubt that would happen. Like every dictator known to mankind has always been a capture, always been a capture. And now they're like, nope, just kill him. Just kill him. Put a bullet in him. That's the best thing we can do.
It was just kill everyone. That was just, anyone that was in the way.
Yeah.
There was no taking any prisoners whatsoever for questioning or to do anything. It was just murder them.
They
Like,
executed.
execute 'em.
They executed like every prisoner they got, to include the Boogaloo Boys and the Western Forces. They executed everybody.
Yeah.
So like the one thing I will say, there was a lack of technical vehicles. I feel like there'd be so many more technical vehicles.
You mean like Tacomas and stuff like that? Heck yeah.
Pickup trucks with machine guns mounted on the back. And I think there would be a lot more improvised vehicles, a lot more improvised stuff. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing was just, it was a big fart in the wind. It was just terrible.
All right, give me your 1 to 10.
I gave it a 1.2.
Really?
Yeah.
That low? Okay.
That low.
Wow.
What is what's a 1?
A 1 is probably
Bambi.
You're really man. Yeah. What is a true 1?
So we can get a little bit of context as to how bad of a score.
What's that?
Come back to me.
What's that movie Ben Affleck did in J-Lo? G-League or
Yeah,
G-League?
G-League or whatever. Yeah, that's probably
G-League.
why.
G-League.
Cabin Fever.
Oh, dude, yeah,
Fever.
probably Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever is my 1. That's
Yeah.
my scale of a 1.
Oh, what's that
So,
one movie?
that's my scale.
What's that one movie with that girl from Game of Thrones? There's a movie that came out from the girl from Game of Thrones and this dude who's in a wheelchair that used to be like this. Anyway, it was a movie about euthanasia and glorifying euthanasia. That's my 1.
Yeah.
That's probably like a 0.5.
Yeah, less than a 1.
Yeah, it was absolutely evil. Glorifying evil.
Hey, real quick before we give your rating, let's talk the previews.
Oh my
The
god.
last 2 previews.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even remember what the movie was.
15 minutes worth of previews, and they are all demonic.
Satan.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were demonic.
Really?
They were demonic.
Oh, they were so
the
creepy.
last 2 were like, okay, do I want to sit here?
Yeah, I mean, they were
Right.
just straight up
Yeah,
demonic.
they were straight up demonic. Like I didn't even really want to sit through. They made me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right, so 1.2 is where you're at, right?
Yep.
Roy, what are you at?
Oh, I'm gonna go. So Cabin Fever obviously being my 1. I thought the sound obviously was good in here. I felt like the acting was good. I actually kind of like the role of the naive photographer. I like the idea that she actually used a film photographer, the film camera. So I actually kind of like that aspect. I don't think that I think they kind of made war look cool, which was the opposite direction of what they wanted to go. They wanted to make war look bad.
Yeah.
Horrible. So I think they failed there. Being that they failed there, I probably give it like a 3.5.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a 5.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 5.
Cheese and rice.
I mean, 5 is not good. That's failing. 5's bad.
Yeah.
But You know, I like it because no one has ever made a good civil, like, obviously we have the old Civil War, right?
Yeah.
North versus South, but no one, like a lot of people said, I was surprised they were allowed to make this movie. Because content like this, you know, as the left would say, like, produces people that want it or crave it, copycats, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So 5, you attempted it. It was a terrible attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, your budget was $50 million, which I don't know if that's high or low, but it should have been way better for $50 million.
I think that's low.
I could do a lot for 50 mil.
Oh my gosh.
You say that's low, but that's $50 million. Obviously, things cost a lot in Hollywood, but I mean, what do you think a subject matter expert when it comes to just weapon handling and equipment setup would cost? You bring a guy in that knows equipment and knows weapon setup. That guy's going to be relatively cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
How long was this filming? It was from March. What? Well, how long did it take? To
2
film?
years.
So an entire 2 years. So what do you spend?
Okay, let's say
you spend 120 grand.
Yeah,
you
that's
pay
what I
a
was gonna
guy
say.
60 grand a year.
Yeah, sure.
A weapons expert to come in. Would you go in for 60 grand a year
Heck
to do
yeah,
this? Yes,
yeah.
I would go in for 60 grand.
Be
a
like,
year,
everybody take
easily.
your gloves off.
Yes, correct.
Take your knuckle protector gloves off.
Lube your Glock.
So 120 grand in the scheme of things that could go towards making this film, in my opinion, making it, you know, taking those action scenes to another level just because you have somebody that they know what they're doing now. They look the part.
Yeah. The only people that looked the part were the Boogaloo Boys. That's about it.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
came the closest.
Yeah, I would say the Boogaloo Boys were well portrayed, or like they could, even the way they talked to each other, like they were kind of unsure, but they
Yeah.
had been doing this a little bit. Their kit looked half decent. They ended up pushing back the actual government that looked just like National Guard for crying
Yeah.
out loud. But yeah, that scene, like I said, that scene was probably one of the better action scenes in it.
And the only reason I think that was the case is because we've seen that in class before, or seen it in general. We just see a random mishmash of like guys who just don't know what to get, and they're just like, "Oh, I'll just get something that I've seen or whatever," and that makes sense. That's realistic.
Was that in the movie?
I don't think
One of the Boogaloo Boys was one.
they.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. I don't think that they did that on purpose, though. I think they were like, let's pull from the same wardrobe as the military guys and just put it on Boogaloo Boys. I don't think that was by design. I think it was complete accident without them realizing it. But I mean, I agree. Like it was something that where just a little bit of coaching and advising could have gone a long way and transformed the movie.
Yeah. So.
But the intent was not that. The intent was to gauge the public, to get you ready, to make you do. Obviously, it was 50% are a certain demographic. So like, they're obviously trying to cater to a specific agenda and message. We saw it before COVID. You had all these 28 Days Later, Walking Dead, Pandemic. You have all these pandemic movies, and then all of a sudden we have a pandemic in 2020. And now it's all UFOs or AI, cyber stuff, or
Demonic.
or Civil War stuff.
Yeah. Nothing good.
I will say their ideal what fuel consumption would be in a probably mid 2000s Ford excursion.
That thing's a tractor.
That traveled 900 miles across the
You got
country.
one little red tank on the back.
They have one 5-gallon jerry can on the back, and they filled the thing up a few miles outside of the city where they left, and they had to travel 900 miles. Folks, I've owned that vehicle before, and you're lucky to get 250 miles out of it. So that is a 4.5 miles per gallon vehicle.
That's
So
a tractor.
it is a tractor for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, overall movie,
Trash.
trash. A lot of potential, trash.
So much potential. I mean, somebody could run with it. I mean, they probably could do a sequel to it, you know, because they said about all the factions, you know, fighting after the president was dead.
I would like to see that someone kind of come in and give her better, you know, front side story to it, and then, you know, kind of after the fact also. So I think they can do 2 sequels, but hopefully they give more information and more detail.
Yeah. So speaking of guns, here's my segue.
Not a caveat.
Here's my caveat. What is this thing about this bill? You said something about a bill recently. What is that about that they're introducing?
FISA.
FISA.
Yeah.
What is that? What happened?
So there was a bill passed in the House of Representatives, and I don't think that it was supposed to pass.
No,
but,
it was supposed to.
Oh, okay. So it was a foregone conclusion. It was supposed to pass. But the big kind of, well, it's not a surprise, but Mike Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House, who everyone talks about as being this conservative Christian guy, like, oh, yeah, he's not McCarthy. He's, a little bit more conservative, came out in a press conference, voted for it, and he said, yeah, I had a meeting with the Intel agents that were promoting this, and they sat me down and pretty much talked about FISA and what it does and the surveillance they do and the good surveillance work that it does to protect Americans, because it protects a lot of Americans from terrorism. And they sat me down, and it changed my mind. I changed my vote. Now, from our perspective, what does that sound like?
He works for the same side.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, he's a snake in the grass.
This guy was supported by Thomas Massey, by Rand Paul, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, this guy was supposed to be like the golden boy of DC, and he's completely done a 180. Not surprising at all. But the fact that they, like, I don't know, like no one's good there. Nobody.
What it does, so just explaining down and dirty what the bill does, but it authorizes the government to conduct surveillance. It says foreign persons located outside the United States. You know that is not going to be directed to just foreign people outside the United States, because Donald Trump, the FISA court used that against Donald Trump, who was an American. So that is utter horse crap that they can even say that with a straight face.
Not to mention, we're talking about this. Our borders wide open. We're on the verge of World War III. We're on the verge of Civil War. Inflation is insane, and we're worried about this stuff right here. Like, this is the stuff they're voting on. It's insane. This is insanity.
It's almost like they want to, if you are a citizen who follows the law, who has respect for government and the judicial system and all these things, you are the one that's penalized.
Yep.
But they're incentivizing criminals to have the power. And that's where I've said this over and over again in conversations, even on the podcast. I don't understand the reason. There is no reason outside of madness, outside of just pure insanity,
Chaos,
or pure destruction. Like, it's controlled demolition. Those are the two options. If you try to explain it any other way with some sort of reasoning, there is no reasoning for
They
it.
can't be that ignorant.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
they're
why I
not-
think
yeah.
it's that controlled demolition.
Yeah.
So what FISA does, would you guys agree that the FBI, the CIA, the NSA is already doing this stuff on Americans? Would you agree?
100%.
Okay,
yes.
so what this does is basically just codifies it. That's all it does. Is it says, so anyone like looking into this stuff or try to uncover something, there's no more uncovering, right? Because it's law. Now they can just say, well, you're not. There's nothing to hide anymore. It's a law. We've written it into law, so you can't uncover. Oh, the FBI is doing this, or the CIA is committing this atrocity, or the NSA is spying on people. It's like, well, no, you can't. The cat's out of the bag because we just made it into law.
It's
Everything
funny.
that we
The
wanted
movie
to do.
brought that up too. That was one of the propaganda points. The president was bad because he disbanded the FBI.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
FBI.
that- I
Okay,
forgot about
no
that.
one mentioned that. That's
Yeah.
a big
Dude.
point.
Yeah, that's a big point.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
Dude.
between killing the Antifa leader.
No, Antifa massacre.
Yeah,
massacring all of Antifa.
And this president disbanded the FBI.
Those are the two big ones.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. That's a political side.
But it's completely neutral.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a neutral thing.
It's completely neutral.
There's only one side that has claimed to get rid of these agencies, and that's the right. That's Republicans.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of American are you, Chris?
Yeah.
What kind of American are you, Chris?
I think they also kind of incentivize, if you are American, then you are a fascist. You are that, because that's what they kept referring to.
How about, I know we're going back to the movie, but how about the scene in the beginning where the
Suicide bomber?
suicide bomber had a
American flag.
American flag.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Had
why
an
everyone
American
ducked and
flag.
covered.
And it was an extremist.
They seen the American flag,
Great point.
and she ducked. She immediately, as soon as she seen the American flag, someone running with it. Obviously, that's a sign.
Yeah.
Extremists.
Right.
So someone with an American flag, they duck and cover before the bomb goes off. The suicide bomber.
Yeah. They ran into
Yeah.
a group of people, and she killed herself, blew herself up.
But we're neutral.
Yeah.
We're completely neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, man, the more and more I sit here and think about it,
No, it was complete propaganda. It was
100%.
pure propaganda. That's what it was. I knew it was going to be, but like them to claim it's neutral, that's laughable.
yeah.
Yeah, to answer your original question, Eric. Well, it's not a question. I think we all know the answer to it. But it's like you said. It is a controlled destruction, and it's people that are in control of a runaway train, and they're just accelerating. All the passengers on the train are like, "Hey, you know that bridge is up ahead. You're just speeding towards it," and they're like, "We'll just increase the speed. We'll just keep going off the rails with this until we go speeding over this cliff that we're going towards." And the people that have all the levers of power right now, seemingly, and all the people that are in charge are just accelerating.
Not only are they accelerating, but they are grabbing anything of value before this train explodes.
Yeah,
That's
like
what
I
they're
said,
doing.
Roy, they're ripping the copper out of the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
It's like when the Titanic was going down, they were stealing all the silverware,
Yeah.
putting all the silverware in their bags and stuff like that. That's exactly what's going on here.
Dressing up like ladies and trying to get on the lifeboat.
Yeah. Maybe we should move to Canada.
Yeah, right.
Apparently, their currency is going to be really good.
according to the movie.
According to the movie.
Oh god.
So start buying your Canadian dollars.
I would move to Mexico before I moved to Canada.
100%.
So if you had to get a truck gun, like just to say whatever happened, Civil War happened, and you're in the middle, the first 24 to 48 hours of all of America exploding into conflict, would you rather have a direct impingement standard AR, or would you rather have a shorty
20-inch barrel with a carbine gas system.
Reagan?
I like the gas.
Yeah.
No, I'm taking the 7.5-inch barrel Boogaloo with the
All right.
with the flaming pig.
Surefire Warden on the end.
Yeah, Surefire Warden, flaming pig
Yeah.
on the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm taking.
10.5 with a muzzle brake. Just kidding. So what would it be? Would you guys run a standard, just an AR that you have a law folder on, or would you run a piston? Do you think what has a better
My
fit for the
truck
role?
gun is a standard, whatever, 13.9 to 16-inch gun. That's my truck gun. I don't care about folding it anymore. I don't care about anything. I just toss it in my back seat.
Yeah.
So,
My truck gun is a rusty revolver from H&R.
yep.
And the
Good old
serial
Saturday.
number has been filed off of it. No, yeah, I'm kind of taking the same approach as Roy now. It's like, I'm not folding anything.
Yeah.
I'm not folding anything. I don't care about, like, my life has now, wherever I'm carrying a rifle to, I don't really need to hide it anymore, in my opinion. I think we're past that. So,
Yeah.
you do you at the end of the day, but I'm just going to throw my rifle in the back. I don't care about gun cases. I don't care about any of that. I toss it in the back. And
Do you think truck guns are dead?
no, I don't think truck guns are dead. I think that people put too much into, that's my truck gun.
Yeah. The one technical, and we don't even get to see the truck.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
I don't think truck guns are dead. I just think people think too deep into it. Like, I need it to fit in a
They try to
backpack.
compartmentalize
Yes,
everything.
Correct. Just grab what you have, whatever it is, that's your truck gun.
Rusty
Whatever-
Sons of Liberty.
Whatever you're, exactly.
Maybe some lint.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Maybe there's some lint jammed in it.
So, what do you think, Ben, about truck guns?
I'm just over it.
Yeah.
I'm not folding anything.
That topic in general, as far as truck guns, I'm just kind of over that. Like, just throw what you got, right?
I mean, rifles in general, like I just keep grabbing the same one.
Yeah.
Like 13.9, 14.5,
Yeah.
dot magnifier. So I just keep. I know it's boring. It's boring as all get out, but maybe I'll throw a pair of gloves with some knuckle protection in the truck. But other than that,
In case you have to punch some faces,
Yeah. You know what? So funny story. In the GWAT, that was like a big deal. Like, oh, you were cool if you had that. And then IEDs were going off and dudes were catching on fire, and that plastic would melt on your hand and completely deglove dudes.
That was not a funny story.
Yeah.
you guys
Not a
relax.
funny story.
Eric, I don't
It was hilarious. Someone just told me this one the other
fiber
day.
melted
Man walks
to-
into a bar. His gloves melt to his hands. That's it. That's the
He's
end of the joke.
permanently scarred.
Yeah. Degloved.
Eric, I don't know. You think you know what funny is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
There's
I
that
see
terrible vest.
That
But
is a terrible vest.
I think, honestly,
Oh, that's
if,
awful.
if you, I think you guys are right. It's at the point, like, just grab whatever your main squeeze is and just run with that. And we've all shot for a long time and have been blessed to be able to throw a lot of rounds downrange to find out, like, you really, honestly, I just treasure having the same thing.
Oh my gosh,
You know,
it's
versus
so nice.
always changing it up. It's I remember I went through that period. Remember that, Ben? And I was like, just changing stuff off all the time. And then I was just like, man, I'm like, my skills are lacking because I'm constantly never adjusting to what I have.
I mean, you see it in class. Guys will whip out 3 different guns in a class. I'm like, dude, you're missing it. You're missing the class.
Yeah.
And just stick with one. Well, you know, this one's a little bit better for this. When we last class, when we stepped back, everybody back to 100 yards.
They brought out the
Magnification.
magnification rifles.
like,
they brought out the.
I'm
they
like,
brought out the
what are you
low-power variables.
doing?
Yeah.
That's actually a great takeaway point to be able to bring it for next class. Be like, no switching guns.
Yeah.
Oh, so many
that
switches.
that should be a requirement for a class.
Yeah.
You can bring a spare bolt, no switching guns.
I mean, you can have a spare rifle if your entire rifle goes down. There was one guy.
But you better give me a legitimate reason for switching. Chris didn't even switch, and he had a single action, single shot.
Yeah.
What kind of American are you?
Why did your rifle continue to fail?
I think it was the magazine.
I think it was the
Yeah,
magazine.
I don't think it was the magazine.
You
I
don't-
gave you one of my magazines,
Yes. So we ran.
That was a bad
drill.
magazine.
That was a bad mag, but you ran a good mag.
and it still did it. I'm pretty sure it was dry.
Yeah,
it was
it was
also
dry.
steel case, which is undergassed.
Correct. But yeah, once I lubed it and I didn't use that magazine anymore. Again, maybe it's not the magazine, but it ran perfectly fine.
How do you like
Lack
that?
of maintenance.
How do you like that gun, by the way?
me?
Lack of maintenance.
Excuse me.
Lack of maintenance. Changing your oil.
You don't take care of your stuff.
It is a rust bucket.
If you guys ever get the chance to shoot with Chris, he'll show up with a duffel bag, and in that duffel bag will be dirty underwear, gun parts, tacos, and like some sort of like little award or patch he won back in middle school. And you'd be like, Chris, don't you think you should clean this out? He'd be like, excuse
No,
me?
remember the combat shirt that I gave him and the combat pants? And I never saw them leave his shelf. Mind you, we're doing open gym and sweating our nuts off every week, and I see the same pants just get chucked on the shelf. I'm like, these have never gone home with Chris.
If you pulled his stuff off the shelf, it would retain its shape.
Rigidity.
And the other thing he would do would be like, hey, smell my leg strap.
Well, did any of you?
No.
Oh,
I could
Yeah, you
smell
weren't
it.
up to the challenge, were you?
I could smell it from just standing near you.
It smelled like old Parmesan cheese.
Perfectly seasoned.
Back over to the truck guns thing. Just one thing I want to add. Whatever your main squeeze is, rinse and repeat. Because
Yeah.
Chris has his main squeeze, and he loves
He
it.
treats it
And
terribly.
he treats it terribly. He definitely needs a backup of the rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
You know, there's no need. What is wrong with repeating a setup that you enjoy, that you're comfortable with? Why there's so often in this industry and with people buying
Consume.
That's fine. Consume all you want. But if you have a main squeeze that you like, rinse and repeat.
I will say on the flip side of that coin, though, consuming and getting more stuff does help out the industry as a whole
I
to
agree.
be able to keep.
Fights gun control.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, buy and consume as much as you want, but if you have a main rifle that you want to run all the time, that you find yourself running all the time, very much like how we do, like if that's your main rifle and you're running it and you're training with it,
One warrior, one sword.
which is great, but there's going to probably come a point in time, like we're talking about with Chris's rifle is getting to the point in time where it's starting to malfunction, things like that.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
If you had to grab that rifle that day and use that rifle, we've kicked off in the Civil War. Boogaloo Boy engage.
You have your crusty underwear on and your crusty outfit.
You're running a single shot rifle. You realize that, right?
Yeah, they just lubed it up. It's fine.
Yeah, but you didn't realize that.
We had to yell at you to lube it up.
It has. What I'm telling you right now, it has kicked off. Like it's going. We're mid fight right now, and you're on the front line with me, and you got a single shot rifle.
Guess you'd be packing his abdominal with
Yeah.
dog.
Yes.
You know, my next question would be, Roy,
What's that?
Do you have any lube?
You're not going to be asking that. You're going to be crapping your pants.
I will say on your behalf, this is why I think having I keep a spare bolt. I can't remember who showed me that. Somebody showed it to me. I didn't come up with that idea, but put a spare bolt in my grip of my rifle and a spare
Kyle
one-time
DeFore.
use Kyle DeFore. That's who it was. So I put a spare bolt in my grip and a spare lube packet.
How about
one
assuming
usable.
and just buying the exact same rifle with the exact same...
Clint Smith always said,
Yes.
if I find a rifle I like, I automatically build a second. Same
Correct.
with a
That's,
handgun.
that's what I'm saying.
2 is 1, 1 is
What
none.
do you have? Your Glock 19X setup that you have. You have
Yep,
both
just
they're identical. You have one that you carry. You have one that you shoot.
Just swap them back.
Just swap
Yeah.
them back and forth when you're at the range. So you're rinsing and repeating, and you're shooting the exact same rifle, exact same pistol every single time. That's what I'm saying. So you're still consuming. If you want to set that same thing up 3 times, I don't
Yeah.
know, but more than one.
Essentially, if you have a bunch of stuff and you keep consuming, at least have one gun that's your main squeeze that you use all the time.
Yep.
But double it. Make it times 2.
Yeah.
Also, just use it.
Yeah.
Like some of these guns that get pulled out, I'm like, you never shot that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, I got 100 rounds for it. All right.
No. My favorite is when they pull it out and it's like, yeah, I got about 8,000 rounds for this. And I was like, no.
No, you don't.
You got maybe 50.
But I did.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You don't know. Shoot 8,000. I challenge you to a goal. For those that sit out and say that you shoot 8,000 to 10,000 rounds a year, I challenge you to a goal. Go shoot 8,000 to 10,000 rounds, so you know what that feels
It's
like.
the same as the dude that shows up and is like, I bench 325. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Why would you say you shoot that much? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah.
No, it's
all
fine.
right.
If you only have the opportunity to go take one class a year and you spend 500 rounds in that class, you're doing more than what most are. So I applaud you. I thank you for showing up. But use your equipment. When you find what you like, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. I mean, that's also one of those things where you figure out all of those, the failure points of things. You
Yes.
figure out what needs to be replaced. You figure out what gear works, what doesn't. And if you're not using that all the time, then you have to go off of someone else's opinion and just take their word for it.
Yep. You can't do your own quality control.
Yeah. And so, dude, I'm not naming out companies, but recently there has been guys running a specific rifle and bolts have been breaking in the same spot across multiple. I think I did a post on this, but it's a bolt that's breaking across, and you talk about QC, doing your own QC. There are so many companies, or I wouldn't say companies, there's a lot of people in the gun industry that are consumers that consume trends, right? And we buy and spend so much money on a trend without realizing, thinking about what is that company's main goal? Do they actually have a purpose in terms of like for example, Sons of Liberty? They have a great mission set. Outfit every single citizen with a high quality AR build. And I know your rifle was dry.
If Colt won't do it anymore, they will.
Exactly.
That's their motto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's their motto.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. And so when you have companies that are looking for outfitting the citizen with top quality equipment, I know your gun was dry, but when it got lubed back up, how much have you enjoyed your Sons of Liberty?
Oh, I love it.
And so one of the things that
it's
is
the
really
only thing Chris has ever actually bought.
Yeah, actually that's true.
That's not true. That is not true
That
at
is-
all.
so
that
of
is
your-
not true.
That is
That is disinformation, misinformation, malinformation.
okay.
Get a FISA order.
Trigicon optic that on it. Did you buy it?
The Trigicon SRO on my pistol?
No.
On your rifle.
The VCOG.
The VCOG. Did you buy it?
No.
No. your flashlight. Did you buy it?
You're naming all the things I
No.
didn't buy. I'm trying to name all the things that I did buy.
Your sling.
Hey,
your
Eric,
hot pocket.
when Chris first got to the ranch,
Yeah.
he was running that beat Glock, and we had to beg him to buy a Glock 45.
Yes, we had to beg.
And then once he did it, he was like, "Why didn't you guys tell me to do this sooner?"
Yeah. Or what was the other thing that was recent, like a sling, or what was it that you were like, man, I don't know why you guys didn't tell me this earlier. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude. Freaking, no, but I mean, it goes back to show if you have a company that is willing to, if they see something, and I'm going to call out Griffin Armament for this one because I was really impressed with them. We had a guy that was a student of ours who had a baffle strike on his suppressor from Griffin Armament. And he emailed them and said, hey, I had a baffle strike. And they paid for a return label and sent him a brand new suppressor, no questions asked. And actually were like, hey, send that to us because we're actually excited to see how that happened so we can learn from that and improve the product. When you have a company that is, one, willing to look out for the shooter and also is able to take that data point to make it better, equipment breaks, we get it. But when it's just swept under the rug, or whatever, it's really, really hard to get that confidence back in that piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the civilian defense industry right now?
Yeah, civilian defense industry.
What's their exercise program?
They're in the
So
Civil War faction.
Roy is so excited to explain.
So if you guys are looking to join the civilian defense industry,
What is this?
oh, okay. So
Oh, okay.
they have a workout program.
Oh gosh, I can only imagine.
I've created it. As the official president of the civilian defense industry, it is 100 skull crushers a day.
Okay.
Max weight 15 pounds.
All right.
And 100 hammer curls a day. Max weight.
Tries and buys.
Tries and buys. That's all we need.
Okay, that's all you
18 pounds.
need.
Forget legs.
Yeah.
I think the Western nation or Western force is actually hiring for that. So yeah. But yeah, I think it goes back to all I was trying to say with that statement is you have to do your own quality control. You
Seth
have
is
to
trying to buy domains right now.
You have to go
It's
through.
available.
You have to do your own quality control. So, like you as a shooter, you won't know if something is working or not if you're not out shooting the equipment. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why you'll see, man, this is a great build, love it, and it's like I ran 100 rounds through it last 2 years, and it's just like, well, you're not really going to see how that piece of equipment is either really good because it's going to last, and if it does, if it runs a really good span of life, then you buy another one of those and you keep getting that same thing because you have confidence in it because you have run it yourself. You know through your own experiences that it's going to last for you. And I think it's one of those things where like we live in an industry right now where equipment is going to be either saving people's lives or costing them their lives, and I don't think that should be taken lightly. But yeah, that's my rant.
Yeah.
QC your own stuff.
QC your own stuff, and just I don't understand just not wanting to shoot. Like my buddy Chris Moon always says, he goes, I never left the range and thought, man, that was a bad time.
Yeah.
Like I've always had a good time.
Yeah.
Like I get it. It can be a little pricey, but it doesn't have to be. Like you can have a low round count and a great range day.
I think it could, as far as price wise goes, I think that just comes into prioritizing your life. So,
Yeah.
the same individual that will complain about, oh, I'm not shooting right now because ammo is, 35 cents a round or 45 cents a round. I'm just not going to train right now because I can't afford to expense ammo. Is the same one out there dumping tons around and purchasing their coffee every day, going out to eat every single day.
New iPhone,
prioritizing their life. If that's what you want, whatever, that's fine. If you want the luxury of life of being able to go buy dinner every single day, out instead of cooking at home, or instead of making your own coffee at home, that you stop and buy a $5-6 coffee every single day. If that's what you prioritize, that's fine. But don't complain. I'm not going to train because ammo's 45 cents a round or 35 cents a round.
Yeah.
Or you buy 5 Turkish
that's-
shotguns.
I'm just going to say it's just completely, yes, you buy 5 Turkish shotguns because they are on, oh man, I couldn't pass up the deal. Palmetto State sent me I've worked in the industry, guys. I've been in the gun.
these out.
I've been,
Yeah.
yes. How many times I've heard that? Ben, you've worked in a gun shop before, all right? I've worked in a gun shop. I owned and operated a gun shop. And how many times I've had people come in and complain, oh, I'm not training right now because ammo costs, but at the same time, they're sending 15 Palmetto State lowers to me.
Yeah.
Whatever, consume all you want, but don't you're copping out on training. And
Well, I mean, it's-
honestly, I'm just going to say it's irresponsible.
Why do you think the
It's
gun
very
industry
irresponsible.
does not understand this?
Because people like the idea of owning something for security instead of having to work at something. I just covered this. In jiu-jitsu, BJJ. It's like I go to BJJ and I lose every single day. Do you know how hard it is to continue to do that? Like going to know I'm going to lose every single day.
That's a discipline.
It's like that takes a lot of efforts. Like and I come home and my boys go, "Hey, Dad, how'd you do today?" "Oh, I got choked out again." It's like that's really hard to do. It's same thing with guns. It's like
It is hard.
You're gonna lose for a while. Like I remember when I started out, gosh, I was terrible. I was awful.
And we're always losing still.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always somebody that's better. There's always somebody that's faster. There's always somebody that's more accurate. There's somebody that is, to a higher level. So, enjoy the journey. I can't say how often we talk about that as far as enjoying the journey, and how jiu-jitsu, obviously staying disciplined, knowing that you're going to jiu-jitsu tomorrow, and
And I'm gonna lose.
and you're gonna lose.
yeah.
As far as your walk in life, walking life with Christ, it's a journey. Your shooting journey, everything is a discipline, and you have to want it. You have to thirst for it. So,
Yeah. I mean, I can quote to go off of what you were saying. I remember we were at the shop and I'm like, what are all these boxes for the same guy? And I'm like opening these up and it's like a single barrel shotgun or another Turkish shotgun that looks like it shouldn't have ever been made. And then I'm like, who bought all? And I'm like, wait, it's the same name on it. And it was like 7 guns and they were all like the worst possible. He's like, man, great deal on these things.
You know what they say? Quantity over quality.
Yeah, that's it. That's the mindset, though. That is the mindset. That it's quantity over quality, and I get it. Consume. You want to own. You want to collect. There's nothing wrong with it. We're collectors. We're hoarders by nature. You have to fight against the ability. Think about it. It goes back to the old saying, "If in doubt, throw it out." Okay, because we're hoarders.
Oh gosh,
Yeah, we are hoarders. So
much junk.
yeah, we're so much junk. We just collect junk. So if you want to collect, but don't cop out on your reasoning behind shooting because your ammo is
too expensive.
Too expensive.
Yeah. I think
Go train.
I think it's something that I've even fallen prey to is like I'll collect gear. Oh, dude, I love me some good gear.
Oh,
But
Eric
if you guys could
loves
see the
gear.
storehouses of Eric Rocher,
All the gear.
the nylon would turn you inside out. That's how much nylon he's got.
Dude, I think when I first met Ben, I think I had 5 or 6 like high dollar plate carriers and 4 helmets. I think.
Oh yeah,
4 helmets.
You just have boxes of gear.
Yeah, I went into his little workbench area and it was just stacks and stacks, totes full of gear.
Totes my goats, bud.
You used to carry around that crate of gear in your beat old blue truck.
The old blue Danube.
He used to have to wire it down. He would have to put a bike lock on it so people would steal it out of the back of his truck.
The first time, I remember the first time coming out to the range with you and Eric, and I show up, and Eric jumps in the back of his truck and opens up this tote, and he's like, I think I got it in here, and he's digging, just unloading all this stuff, just trying to find the treasures that are inside.
Yeah, so much gear.
Sometimes I'll open it. I'll just look at all the stuff. And I'm like, man, that's so cool. But I got too much stuff.
Me, on the other hand, that stuff stresses me out. I hate gear. I don't like it. I don't like sorting it out. I don't like setting up gear. Like
Hence your dirty underwear jammed in your gun bag.
That's all I need is just dirty underwear stuffed in a gun bag.
Remember when I gave Chris that brand new? I was like, Welder Tactical sent you a brand new belt. And he didn't want to use it because he had to put it together. And I said, I will put it together for you. And he's like, well,
Did I make that face?
Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah. And then he put it together. He's like, "Oh, why didn't you do this sooner?"
Every single time. Like, well, guys, why didn't you tell me that?
My leg strap smells like butt already. I have to re-get it.
Guys, this ALS holster is so much better. Why didn't anyone tell me?
Why did you not tell me to get rid of my Black Hawk Serpent holster?
Chris is also the only one, I think, that had 2 guns blow up in 2 years. Or actually the same year, right?
Ooh, that was a bad time, though. I mean, how many guns in that year?
You had 2 blow up just by you.
I had a gun blow up.
You had one too, yeah.
Yeah, my
Did
pistol
you had
blew
2
up.
or 1?
I had one.
The
Glock, right?
MCA. No, the
MPX.
Copperhead.
Yeah,
the
the Copperhead
Copperhead.
MPX. Yeah, I still actually had that one on video.
Yeah, blew up.
Yeah, where it blew up.
It was
I had
all the same ammo.
Camera right over top. And then the old CZ
Some
Scorpion.
bro.
Some bro.
The CZ Scorpion blew up.
Chris
Yeah.
blew up his Glock.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when he was refusing to get another one. And
Yeah.
he literally had pieced together a
It's
Glock.
fine.
No, it was that RMR. Remember, the RMR he got was literally
So
the
dim.
dullest glowing dye.
See,
I look at it, and it has like belly button lint and dirt and sweat and like this. It was like a candle that was like, let me just go out.
I have to have the perfect backlighting to get an actual solid dot on it.
Let's be honest. You were just point shooting at everything. You couldn't see anything.
You just got to guillotine the target with the top part of your window,
That's
and
what
you're
you were
good.
doing, bud.
Yeah, he was running it. I remember the first time I met Chris, we went out to that back range, and I had loaded. I didn't really know you, and I
No,
loaded
that's the first time you met him.
I loaded his mag with blanks. And I was like, hey, try out this new ammo. And he loads it in his rifle, and he's shooting it. And he's like, oh, that's weird. It's not cycling. So he's racking it. And I'm like, oh, maybe get closer. And get closer. He's probably from me to the camera away shooting. He's like, where's the bullets? And I'm like, oh, it's blanks.
Hi, I'm Eric, by the way.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
All right, jerk. See how it is.
Oh man,
Dude.
That back range, we just sweated our balls off in that
Oh, my
back
goodness,
range.
dude.
no.
Very good training, though.
Yeah.
Lots of good reps.
Yeah. A lot of good
The
reps.
ranch in general, how much we sweated our balls off.
So much sweat.
Yeah, sitting in that Connex box, just a metal
Just
tank,
dripping.
just dripping.
You guys have no idea. You guys have no idea about dripping sweat and checking people in the hottest part of the Connex, and you have to poop, and no one will let you go poop because you got to check people in on a computer, and there's literally drops of sweat and maybe blood dripping on the keyboard.
It was 115 degrees in there.
We were doing safety evals.
Oh my gosh, that's some of the worst.
We were doing safety evals. But I will tell you, some of the best dudes
Yeah.
that we know have come from those safety evals.
Yep.
Also, some of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting wise.
Yeah.
God.
Some of the gear and the guns that people brought to those evals.
How about Zach?
Zach almost died on many occasions.
Yeah.
How about his gear when he first showed up?
Oh, my gosh.
terrible.
All right, you got to give the synopsis of that.
Listen. Listen. We will. I don't like the gear shaming. I don't like to judge, but we
I
got
love it.
It's too good to pass
but
up.
it's
It's
too
Zach.
good to pass up when someone shows up to the gym, the open gym, for the first time running what they were running with Zach.
Do you remember exactly what he had?
He had a XDS.
Yeah, so he had an XD, Springfield XD.
with the free holster.
The free holster from the Springfield. Yeah.
gosh.
He had a 16-inch AR that was, I think,
With a spider optic.
with a spider optic. He
black
bought it at
spider optic.
He bought it at a gun show for $100, and it wasn't bright enough to work during the day.
And he even said, he's like, yeah, there was a better one for like $250, but this one was cheaper. I'm like, that's not even that much more, man.
And then he had a Chinese Amazon battle belt, and he was like, you know what? I was thinking about doing an Amazon channel or a YouTube channel, just talking about like cheap gear and how it's good enough. Good enough.
He quickly learned.
Yeah.
He quickly
learned.
He went through a buying spree for
Yeah, he
about a
did.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, my wife is gonna divorce me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went through a buying spree. How about when he got a Glock and then it wouldn't work and we just convinced him that he was limp wristing all the time? he was
Dude, he was spending so much time working on his grip.
We're like, nope, your wrists are just
Dude,
weak.
You're just weak
Yeah.
because it wouldn't cycle.
And I remember he would look at us like this with his glasses, like trying to figure it out. Oh my goodness, Zach! If you're watching this, we miss you.
Yeah, love you, buddy. Love you.
Yeah, he was getting so frustrated. I'm like, Zach, I can tell you're just limp wristing it.
Yeah, dude.
But he had a screw that went too deep.
Yeah, actually, so we actually had somebody reach out on the a couple of the chats, one of the members' chats recently, and that's obviously an issue with striker fire pistols with the extractor.
I did on my
that goes
gun.
to,
Yep.
allowing the screw basically to be too long and it puts too much tension on it so it doesn't extract properly. Or if it does extract properly, it's not allowing it to grab a hold of it to feed all the way in. So you end up getting rounds that somewhat are out of battery, but they'll strike just enough to not ignite the round because it's not going to fire out of battery. So that's a pretty common cause.
So one thing I wanted to highlight is we all know 100 Concepts, the light cap company. They have a new gig that they're doing now called Fast Frontier Mobility, and it's building accessories for e-bikes, e-dirt bikes for citizens to use to get from point A to point B and stuff like that in preparedness. So how relevant is having a dirt bike for transportation? How do you think it's something that's like cool? Do you think it's just a trend? What are
I
your
think
thoughts?
it's definitely the new trend.
Yeah.
Like, e-bikes are getting very, very popular. Like Roy and I were talking earlier, it's never going to beat a gas engine. Like a
Yeah.
combustible engine, you're never going to. I mean, maybe sometime in our lifetime, but no time soon. I'm actually getting an e-bike, and I can't wait. I'm going to be rolling around my neighborhood with nods on, whispering death. That's what I'm going to be. It's going to be sick.
I think having anything with two wheels is going to be in your benefit, whether it's gas or electric. So if it's a combustible engine, then that's obviously what the masses are. That's what's going to be more available out there. The electric bike thing, they're becoming better and better every day. The battery life is better, the speed, the endurance, the how long they'll last. Key is how do you charge it and how fast can you charge it? So I really like what they're doing over there, because I do believe that anything two wheels, as far as needing to travel by yourself, is a very, very fast way of doing it, and also a very way of doing it to get off of main roads.
Yeah.
You can cover more ground very, very quickly. It's
quiet.
And even a combustible engine, it may be louder, but you can just sheerly cover more ground at a higher rate of speed than what you can do in a vehicle, and it allows you to get off the main road. So I think learning to just ride on two wheels at a higher level skill set than just like, I know how to take off and I know how to shift the gears and stuff like that. I think learning how to ride two wheels at a higher level skill is definitely something worthwhile doing.
Yeah. I think the one thing is, if you're going to run dirt bikes, having the ability to strap your gear down on some sort of storage area, like a rack or something like that, is going to be important, because obviously you can have it slung, but it's going to be bouncing all over the place. That's why like ATVs for the military was a big deal, because you could put a lot of stuff on there. You can front load your ruck. They're putting
I think you
Mark
have to
19 grenade launchers on the front of those things.
I think you got to look at, what are you doing with a dirt bike, though? Are you needing the dirt bike to haul a bunch of gear, or are you just doing a quick supply run for something, or you're needing to move something that's important from point A to point B? Like I need to get
Like up them.
correct. Yeah, exactly. So
What a scumbag.
What a scumbag.
He was probably in Civil War.
Hey, is that UP'em?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what you're using two wheels for, is moving something from point A to point B relatively very quick. I don't think you're using it to haul a bunch of gear. It's not a sustainment vehicle. It's in my opinion,
Just a fast mobility.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the one I'm getting has a 40-mile capability, and I think like top speed is 50 miles per hour, but with my fat body, it probably won't get up to 50. But I just want it for my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like I just want it as like a beach cruiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want it as. Not burn up fuel.
The one thing I think that was really interesting to see in the Civil War movie was that obviously they had that one technical vehicle. I think that honestly is going to be something that's similar to what Ukraine is experiencing. Is I think there's going to be a lot more use of vehicles here in the States. Like in Ukraine also right now, this was actually an interesting interview. There's a Ukrainian dude that was talking about their weapon lights, and they're actually using rechargeable batteries for their weapon lights, which was like, what? But they have no 123s over there. It's like a very uncommon battery. So trying to source a 123 battery for their light is almost impossible. So they are actually using rechargeable batteries, and they're just buying like a solar charger and charging their batteries in the trench and then like plugging it back in. So honestly, I don't know if there's a solar charger that's big enough. I'm assuming there is, to charge up your dirt bike, but then that would be a more sustainable way of doing things, especially if you don't have to rely on fuel. You can rely on
I've seen the fold out panels for e-bikes. I'm sure the charge takes longer though.
Yeah.
I know like the bikes I'm looking at, charge times between 4 and 5 hours for a full charge.
But once again, I think it goes back to, what are you using it for? And if it's a sustainment thing, if you're building it out to be a sustainment thing, then I think it's going to be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
It's needing to move.
It's got faster than a run.
Correct. Faster than a run.
Yep.
Point A, point B. To get in somewhere and get out. I got to get in there. I got to get something and get out.
Yeah.
So.
And it's got to be able to outrun an FPV drone with an explosive on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you know how to ride and you know how to hit some of the deep woods, some of the tighter terrain, because I mean, flying in heavy, heavy woodage, heavy trees. I mean, that's going to be very difficult to fly in.
Yeah, that's a great advantage that dirt bike will give
you can do that with a dirt bike.
Yeah.
So if you have that confidence in your abilities, to hit that, get off the main road to hit the deep areas, so you can kind of evade that. I think that's where a dirt bike definitely comes in play.
Yeah,
whether it's electric or gas. I mean, I'm all about gas. I don't care.
What is a good dirt bike that is a gas dirt bike that's a generally good, decent at everything, that's a good starter bike if somebody was trying to get into it?
Something that is not going to be over powerful, but will get you moving. I would say I like the Kawasaki KLX 300R edition. It is more of the strictly off-road edition. So I would definitely lean more towards more of an off-road vehicle, because an off-road vehicle is going to do road stuff good enough still, where a road motorcycle isn't gonna do off-road stuff quite as well. So I think something like a KLRX, it gives you, it's not like a full-fledged like race bike or anything like that. So it gives you pretty solid reliability. It gives you decent seat comfort for somebody that maybe wants to sit down. Gives you the ability to actually attach some type of racking system to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good one. Obviously Honda makes something very similar in the 300cc too. But any of those bikes, those motors are pretty solid. Honda makes, they make a 250cc, a 300cc also. That's those motors have been around for a long time, so they're relatively very durable motors. So I would say something like that. Not necessarily a true 100% dual purpose bike, and not a full-fledged right bike, kind of more something I would lean more towards like a trail bike or something that kind of a woods bike. If you want to go dual purpose, you definitely can. The dual purpose is depending on your terrain and where you're at. If I'm in Florida here and as sandy as it is, a dual purpose bike sucks, because you get into that sand. To ride in sand, you have to stay on top of sand. So you have to be traveling at a relatively high rate of speed. And if you get something that's a big, heavy bike, it's obviously going to want to do what? It's going to want to sink down in the sand. If you're further out west and you're getting into some of the mountain range, things like that, where you have a lot of the fire roads and that kind of stuff, I think you can probably get away with a dual purpose where you have a little bit harder terrain, harder ground. But I think for us here in Florida, something like that would be really, really good.
Yeah. We rode the e-bikes in Montana, and we were riding those things up mountains, and it was going 45 miles an hour uphill. Steep uphill. And so that was actually really, and it was super light. It was insane how light it was. There is some noise, but it's just the chain. It's just a chain essentially on the sprocket. So
now keep in mind, obviously, the downside to the electric, the positive side is how quiet they are, but the downside is the more equipment that you're hauling, the more strain that you're putting on that electric battery, the shorter. So like Ben's talking earlier, he's got 40 miles, but he wants to load that thing up with an extra 50 pounds of equipment.
Right.
He's cutting down on that range drastically, relatively very quick. So.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think.
But I think it's a good way to go. I think, for sure. Of course, I'm passionate about it because I love riding. So. Yeah.
Interesting. Because before we go into Mathew chapter 8, one of the things that I thought was really cool, I'm doing a video series right now. Barrel Hatchet is collabing with Jiggin' with Jordan, another YouTube channel, and we were doing spearfishing. So I've never spearfished before. He took me out spearfishing yesterday. We were seeing if ghillie suits work well underwater when you're spearfishing, and it was surprising that it actually did. Like the fish were coming right up to us because we look like a piece of vegetation and structure underneath in the water. So that was really interesting. But one of the things that we were talking about was how relevant would spearfishing be if it was an end time scenario and you had a non-permissive environment where people are trying to kill you, take your food. And if you're sitting out there hunting with a fishing pole or fishing with a fishing pole, you're exposed for a long period of time. Whereas when I had this ghillie on, I'm in the water, he had to yell out for me. And when I would pop up and look at him, he was looking a completely different direction. He couldn't even see me. And I was only like 25 yards in the water, offshore. So that was really cool. But I was able to we got like 8 or 9 fish, like like that. Like we were able to just get our fish, pick what we wanted, and haul butt out of there. So what I'm going with this is those types of outside the box skills like spearfishing or riding a dirt bike and those types of things, thinking about ways that you can increase your skill set to be able to utilize them as an asset for yourself or your group is, I think, super important. And honestly, if you think outside the box, you can always bring those things. They're usable. One of them was like scuba diving. Obviously, I'm trying to find I was like, oh, how can I make scuba diving something that was good for preparedness? But if you take something that's valuable or you want to hide something, hiding it in the water, and the only way to get to it is diving to that cache, I mean, that thing's pretty much, you're never going to find that. So those are some things where it's like, okay, these things make sense, especially when you start thinking outside the box with the different skills that you may have, even if they're just hobbies. But yeah.
And they're just good experiences.
Yeah, and it's fun. Yeah. Roy's going to teach me how to learn a dirt bike.
Yeah. So.
Hopefully
what about you, Chris?
What?
What about you?
What about me?
You ever rode a dirt bike?
Nah.
You ever thrown your leg over two wheels outside of a bicycle?
The one time I did, I got into an accident.
I remember that.
And for whatever reason, I asked a guy who had just got a motorcycle to just drive me up to my car, other side of campus, real quick. Can you do it for me? Yeah, hop on the back.
Yeah. Bad decision.
Drive, and we just breeze through a stop sign. Car comes out, and we T-bone this other guy, and we flip off the bike.
Yeah.
Busted up my knee, ripped my pants, my favorite pair of pants.
That's lucky. That's all.
And that's the only time I've been on a motorcycle. Never been on one since.
Oh.
Not because I'm scared. It's just I never had the appeal after
Chris
that.
also loves heights.
Well, that's why I thought an e-bike would be like a good start for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just going to just like,
Oh, it's a great start.
I'm not going to just start with like a RX-1 and just rip out.
Bikes are like tattoos. They're hard to stop getting.
There's just like there was somebody else that was just Jim's Goon Life. He was talking about motorcycles. He's been in 2 motorcycles accidents. He said he'll never get on a bike again. And it's like you, Eric, you were almost in a motorcycle accident. You said it's.
I won't ride on the street.
Yeah,
like I quit riding on the street years ago. Like there's as far as like normal commuting from day to day, things like that, or just going for a ride on Sunday afternoon or something like that on a street bike. Like I won't do that anymore. Now,
Imagine being on I-4.
Oh, dude.
It's a death wish.
It's a death wish. So
I would be so stressed.
Yeah, I wouldn't ride on the street anymore. But as far as just having the skill and learning for enjoyment riding off road, but like that, yeah, I'll do that all day long. Like I mean, off road, and I'll still hurt myself. Like there's no doubt about it. My son just broke his his fibula, so you're gonna break something. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be broken. I'll probably 2 weeks from now I'll probably come in with a broken arm if I had to guess.
Now, Lord will protect him.
I think I'd like one of those e-bikes that you can pedal and has
I have
a
one of those.
electric.
Yeah, those hobos.
I bet you would.
Nicodemus probably
They're
had
fun.
one.
Hey, don't be knocking on Nicodemus with his
tell you,
balls hanging
the
out
one
on the
that
highway.
Chris, I will tell you, the one that I have, it's a fat tire one, so you can still ride off road with it, so you can go hit trails with it. But even with the assist, so it's assisted pedal, you could get going if you want to ride it hard and get up a lot of speed. You can still get a pretty solid workout.
Yeah,
out of
like
it,
if you ever been on a bike going 30 miles per hour, it seems a lot faster
it's
when
pretty
you're
fast.
doing it.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll take it. And just ship it to my house. And
For how much?
excuse me,
For how much?
what?
What's your magic price, Chris?
$0. $0.00.
Which means it's what?
It's free.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking if you got EMP, then you could still just at least pedal.
Yeah, it's true.
You have both options.
Yeah, but EMPs don't really work like that. Like everyone thinks like EMPs.
They do. I'm an expert on EMP.
You're not.
Are you a subject matter expert?
Subject matter 2 degrees, buddy.
2 degrees. 2 degrees.
Just having a separate bike.
Yeah.
Because who wants to
That's what I said, Seth. Yeah. That's what I had to explain to my wife and my mom. They're like, "Well,
I'll
don't you
pedal
want
it.
pedals just in case?" I'm like, "No, I'd rather just have a
I'll pedal
bike
it.
to pedal."
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Schwinn,
I'm not walking
15 speed.
somebody's bike.
Yeah.
I will say, we were mapping it out, and there is a huge difference between walking and just biking. If you ever do Google Maps,
Oh yeah, huge.
Oh yeah.
Like I mapped it from the gym where I work. It's 8 hours on a bicycle. It's an hour and a half, just with a regular.
So walking
Walking.
from your home
To the gym
to the gym.
is 8 9 hours. Yeah,
That seems
but
excessive.
with a bike, it's an hour. It cuts it down to an hour and a half, which I was
I
shocked
gotta
by.
look up and see what it is to my house.
How far away what's your mileage?
It's about 10 miles.
Should be doing, it's usually, well, for military standards, it should be 15 minutes a mile. That's the max, 15 minutes a mile.
Like on your feet?
Yeah.
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 Interesting. Okay.
So,
That's with all your gear, everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Reckon 15 minutes a mile. Yeah. That's the minimum. But, yeah, speaking of mileage, here's a good caveat.
What just happened?
Blindsided by this.
So 14 minutes driving for me. And then biking.
24 hours walking.
Biking is 35 minutes. So 14 driving, 35 biking, and then 2 hours and 38 minutes walking.
Yeah, it
What is
cuts
this-
it down
what is this one?
significantly.
Is this one hitchhiking?
Yeah, he's like holding his arm out.
Yeah,
They do hit-
Arm out.
What? They have time for hitchhiking?
No, he's probably like, hey.
This looks like it. Let's
They
see.
have alerts now. If you sign up for hitchhiking.
I don't know, dude. I saw a dude hitchhiking recently. He had literally had his thumb out. I'm like, no one's gonna pick you up. We've literally
does
seen
that
too many
anymore.
movies.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what the picture is. It's a picture of that,
A
but
hitchhiker?
it's for like ride sharing.
No,
You download an app for ride sharing, but it's a picture of a guy holding his thumb out.
well, just like that guy holding his thumb out, Jesus healed a man with leprosy. So, good caveat.
Good caveat.
All right. So, if you guys,
Transition.
yeah, here's my caveat, my transition, segue, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
a segue.
So, just like that terrible transportation device, Mathew chapter 8. So if you guys want to read along, if you're listening, we were reading in Mathew chapter 8. But Jesus heals a man with leprosy. So when Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them." Now when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home, paralyzed, suffering terribly." Jesus said to him, "Shall I come and heal him?" The centurion replied, "Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, 'Go,' and he goes, and that one, 'Come,' and he comes. I say to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, "Truly, I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, let it be done just as you believed it would," and his servant was healed at that moment. So before I go on, I would love to know your guys' thoughts about that. The centurion. Good talk. So
Good talk.
if I go, I'll preach. So go ahead.
I think it's the centurion, as far as showing here it is, you have a man, you have a guy that doesn't, he only really kind of, for as far as what we can tell, he has either seen or witnessed or heard about what Jesus has done. Okay. And he doesn't know. He's not educated. He doesn't have the knowledge in the Old Testament. He doesn't have all the knowledge that is there. But his faith obviously is he is so strong that many others have invited and wanted Jesus to come into their home so they can witness him healing. Okay, his faith is so strong that he says his home is not worthy. That he's not worthy for Jesus to come in. But he knows that if he just heals, that his servant will heal. So how strong his faith is. So.
I think the one question I have is, what did the centurion hear about, see, experience to have him have the faith that he did to make that statement? What, and so for me, I just want to go on, this is not biblical. This is my own thoughts. But that centurion must have heard something, or maybe a servant went out, or some soldiers witnessed some things that Jesus did. And the centurion is in a position of leadership, and he even explains that to Jesus. And he can tell that Jesus is in a position of leadership and also is a great healer. But I think it goes deeper than that, because he says, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. So not only is he just a great prophet, but he is someone of such great stature in a leadership position that he is not even worthy, and he's not even a Jew. He's a Gentile. He's a Roman, right? So he has this reverence for Jesus when he comes and meets him, where it had to have had been faith that was built up through experience or from things that he heard or whatever about Jesus prior to asking this request. And so that's what's interesting to me, is that, one, he had an experience where his faith was strong when he went and made the request to Jesus. Two, he is obviously a leader who cares about his servant, because he's going and interceding on behalf of his servant who is in his house. So that immediately tells me the type of character that this centurion is. And a centurion, for those who don't know, is a commander. It's a general term for commander. A basic centurion in the Roman army had 100 soldiers underneath their command, but they also had centurions that were in command of legions. So it was like, hey, I'm a commander of a team, or I'm a commander of a brigade or a battalion or division. Commander is a very broad term. Centurion is that same term according to the Roman army. So we don't know how big his leadership role was, but it was big enough where he had servants and soldiers underneath of him and understood the position that he was granted and put in. And so whenever he goes and asks Jesus to heal his servant, Jesus asks him the question, shall I come and heal him? And I think that Jesus was wanting to hear his reply. And what's interesting is, like, we have a lot of people today who are not believers because they can't physically see it, right? Mm-hmm. The faith is seeing something or not being able to see something but still believing in it. But they're like, well, I don't see any miracles, or I don't see this, or I don't see, this change in my life, or I don't see that. And so there always has to be that tangible evidence to see. The centurion had no need for the evidence. He knew that God's authority and Jesus' authority was so certain, he said, just say the words. Just say the words. You don't even have to come. I'm not even worthy to have you come to my... So he understands authority, and also says, if you say the words, I know it will be done for a fact. And so that's when Jesus says he was amazed. Imagine that, like, God of the universe, the kingdom of heaven, is amazed at your answer, amazed at your reply, right? That to me is fascinating. And I'm like, man, I would love to be in a position where I say or do something that amazes Jesus himself. And so this centurion, Jesus said he was amazed and said to those following him, truly I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. And here we hear what Jesus' mission statement was when he came to earth. He didn't come just for the Jews. It says that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom, there's even in this translation it says, but the subjects of the subject of the kingdom will be thrown. Okay, so kingdom. There's other ones that says it's talking about essentially the Jews who don't accept what Jesus is saying will be thrown out into the darkness, and there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So now we're seeing that those who are from the east and the west, not from Israel, who are believers, will be able to sit at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. And so what else is curious is that Jesus said to the centurion, go, let it be done as you believed it would. Not as you said it, but believed it would. And that is such an important word, is not as you said, but as you believed. And his servant was healed at that moment. So either Mathew went after the fact when he was writing this book and asked the centurion, hey, what was your experience? And he was able to say, yo, like as soon as Jesus said that, my servant was up, he had been up for a couple of days. And he was like, yeah, I just randomly felt I was healed immediately. So he had to have known that his servant was healed at the moment that Jesus said the word. So either Mathew told him or the centurion came back and told Jesus, and it's just not written down. We don't know. It's not written down. But I think that is something that I wonder if God also connected with his centurion, because we know that one of the titles that Jesus has in the Bible in the Old Testament is the commander of the Lord's armies. And so there's this connection between the warrior soul and spirit and leadership and people who have compassion on those who are underneath them, and also have faith. And so I think that's so important for us to remember and to think about, that we should live like the centurion in terms of having compassion for those who are around us, those who are either work with us or work for us, or family members, people in our family, our wives and our kids, having that compassion for them and truly being like the Lord with kindness. But at the same time, also having the faith that when I pray, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to come to fruition. There's no doubt in my mind that it's like, oh, well, maybe this might happen. Maybe it's like playing the lottery. Maybe it might, cross my fingers. And it's like, no, it was a certainty for him.
Yeah, it was like the lady who was suffering from bleeding, and just there was a crowd around Jesus, and everyone's touching and pushing on him, and this lady is just like, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, just the tail end of his garment, I know I'm going to be healed. And she does, and she's healed, and Jesus automatically recognizes it in that moment, her faith and her belief. And it's very similar to this. So it's like, as you understand and read about the scriptures, you can see kind of consistencies in Jesus' behavior in reaction to faith, right? It's the very simple things. It's the woman giving the 2 coins, the 2 copper coins, giving all that she had. And you see Jesus recognizing this type of faith, right? Whether it be the centurion or the woman who's trying to just touch the hem of his garment.
Yeah, and you actually mentioned those 2 characters. Jesus healed so many people in the Bible throughout his time on earth, but the 2 that he calls out were the ones who didn't require evidence.
Yeah,
they didn't require him to go to their house or to touch them or whatever. They just had to either say it, or she didn't even want to bother him. She didn't want to get in trouble. And she knew, if I just touch his garment, I will be healed. That is faith, man. Like,
crazy.
Brings you to tears. But, so when Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law laying in bed with fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to wait on him, which is taking care of him. When evening came, many who were demon-possessed were brought him, and he drove out the spirits with a word and healed all the sick. This is to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. He took up our infirmities and he bore our diseases. When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross the other side of a lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, let me go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." I think that's something that passage resonates with me in that way, where there's a lot of motivation on the front end, but it's when it gets tough and it gets hard and I have no place to lay my head, or I have financial struggles, or I have, everybody in my family's getting sick, or whatever. I have, strife within the family, or I'm going out and I'm being uncomfortable and people are just, being negative towards me, witnessing to them, or the government is persecuting you because you're opening your mouth about the gospel, and now there's that fear of, retribution. Those are the type of things where everybody's motivated in the beginning when the going's good. It's easy to pray when things are going okay in your life, right? But it goes back to when things are going tough. That's the cost. The cost is everything. The cost is when we put him first, family doesn't come first. Family comes second. But Jesus comes first. And if I strive to be like Jesus and I follow him, naturally I will be the best husband or father to my family. If I truly am being like Christ, then Christ is allowing himself to love my family through me. And so it's this conducive relationship that we have, where if we truly put him first, everything else in life falls into place. Now it may not be in worldly possessions that we think, but everything else does fall into place in terms of our drive, our motivation, and then we get to be witness to what God's doing. But it does take the discipline, like we've talked about before, where we're not just, what do you call them, springtime warriors? You know what I'm saying? You're winter warriors, where you're going out when the fighting is toughest and the conditions are the most harsh, but you're still fighting the fight.
Yeah, it's very similar to the guy who's willing to follow Jesus, and he tells him, "All right, we'll sell everything you have and come follow me." And he walks away sad, and he's like, "Well, I mean, that's what it takes." He was so focused on the possessions, not storing up the treasures in heaven. I think that's also a good connection to this story, as well.
And I want to skip to the end of this chapter because there was actually some questions I had for you guys. But Jesus goes out. There's a storm, and he calms the storm. The disciples don't, they're freaking out, and he calms the storm, and they still are like, wait, who is this guy that the winds and the wave even obey him? So you can tell even at that point, they're still questioning who Jesus is. But when they get to the other side of the region in the Gardenese, 2 demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" they shouted. "Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time?" Some distance from them, a large herd of pigs was feeding. The demons begged Jesus, "If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs." He said to them, "Go." And they came out and went into the pigs, and the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the water. Those tending the pigs ran off, went into the town, and reported all of this, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the whole town went out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. The only word that Jesus says in that entire passage is "go." Mm-hmm. So my question is what were the demons? I wonder what they're thinking. Why would they want to go into the herd of pigs?
Maybe it's a hoofed, vile animal.
Possibly. I think that they have this. They obviously have their higher anarchy, their higher level there, and that they have this. They have this desire basically to be destructive, and they're looking for in this particular moment where they have no power over man, they have no power over anything, and that they're still looking to try to be destructive. And it's like here, they hear these pigs off feeding. So I think that, I mean, this is just me thinking, that is their way of okay, well, I can still hold, I can still show to my higher authorities, I can still show that I have this, and they go and of course the pigs rush off and they die in the water. So
I think it also shows some of the characteristics of demons in this passage, that they obviously are desiring constantly to possess a body. They're always looking for that. So obviously there's no one around that can be possessed because they belong to Jesus. So they look for something and they see the pigs. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is that as soon as they go in the pigs, they rush down into the bank and die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like the bodies that they were possessing, they immediately destroyed.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it also confirms, it's just another testimony that it's confirming that he is the Son of God, because even the demons are recognizing that immediately that he is the Son of God, and they just don't want
to be obedient.
Yeah, they don't want any part of it, and they're worried that they're going to be just tortured in a way before whatever appointed time. So I don't know. For me, that's a powerful first part of that, is even the demons confirm that. It's just another testimony that they confirm that he is the Son of God.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show, like, it's not about knowing who God is. The demons knew who God was. Mm-hmm. They could call it out immediately. It's having the relationship with him. That's the difference. There's tons of people in this world that know God. Like, they've heard of him. They know who he is. They can point him out in a crowd or whatever. They can point out the religion and, yeah, it's the Bible, but they don't know of him. Or they go to church every Sunday, but they're not really having a relationship with Jesus. And then something else that's interesting to me is the fact that they said, they beg him to go into the pigs, and Jesus grants them their request. So that's what's wild to me, is like even the demons, Jesus had that compassion on them.
Yeah, and I think this also talks a little bit about authority as well, is because in order for a demon to possess a human, a human has to relinquish their authority and let it in.
Yeah.
In some way, it could be very subtle. It could be very blatant. But an animal, I don't think possesses that, which I think is the difference there.
Okay.
I just realized that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. That the other thing is when they say in verse 29, the demons ask God, "What do you want with us, Son of God?" So they call him out by who he is, his rank structure, and then they ask him the question, "What do you want with us?" Which goes to show Satan in the demonic realm doesn't know everything or what God is planning on doing. They have no idea why he's there. They have no idea what his plan is. They have the Bible, but they are also still in the dark, in quote unquote, or no pun intended, but they are in the dark when it comes to what God's true and final plan is going to be. And we as Christians can rejoice in that, knowing that we already have the victory in Jesus, and the demons don't even know. They don't even know why he's there. They're just like, well, what do you, are you here to torture us? They thought their time was up. They thought that Jesus was coming back to punish them because this is the tribulation. So when they know that they have judgment is coming, they don't know when it's going to be. They don't know what God's plan is. We know what God's plan is because, God reveals that to us through Scripture, but we have that confidence in that victory that the demons and Satan, one, I think they still think that they can win, which is ridiculous. And two, they have no clue his plan because they have not been shown the end state. God has not revealed that to them through Scripture. So there's a lot of takeaways in that when it comes to the spiritual realm and how real that is. And we've talked about that on other podcasts. But the hope that we can have is the authority of Jesus, who is not just a hippie in a suit or in a robe with a long beard. He is the commander of the Lord's armies. The demons even said, Son of God. And they literally were terrified of him and begging him because he is the God of the universe. And the only word that he said was go. Like, talk about authority. Talk about authority over all the spiritual realm. And the one thing that's cool is when they are being pushed out of these regions and the demons are being, cast out, we forget that the human beings on this side of the story are experiencing that, but also the spiritual side is also witnessing what Jesus is doing in the moment, play by play. They're seeing that. And what is the reaction from the heavenly realm and even the demonic realm going like, whoa, like what? God is doing something crazy now. And so that's why I think whenever we have people that come to know the Lord and the heavens rejoice for that prodigal son, that prince or that princess that returns home to the kingdom, the angels are experiencing that real time. They're experiencing that excitement. As soon as that person gets saved, they experience that real time. When every one of us got saved, the heavens rejoiced, real time at the moment we were saved and brought into the kingdom. And also the demons in the dark realm also lament, and they're like, oh, it's like a punch in the face. Dr. Heiser pointed out as a great way, he said, spiritual warfare is us witnessing to people and snatching them away from the kingdom of darkness and bringing them over to, or talking to them, and Jesus pulling them out of the darkness and bringing them to the light. And so that is such a powerful statement, that is how we wage spiritual war, is through witnessing and through taking people away from that darkness through God on that mission set and bringing people home. Yeah.
It's good.
It's a good one. That was deep.
Yeah.
I've read that one multiple times, just trying to wrap my brain around it.
Yeah. I think we can go to chapter 9 now. We've been on chapter 8 all week.
All right.
But I just feel like that's just how things have been. Roy and I were going through Mathew, and now we're going to go to chapter 9, but just so much to digest in those passages. And anytime I'm reading the Bible and it goes to that red text where God himself is talking, I'm like, dude, Jesus himself said these words.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But yeah. Well, I preached a little bit, so I'm going to give it up to the group for any final thoughts about anything we talked about. But yeah.
We're looking at you, Chris.
Mm.
Camera's on you.
How did you know what button that was?
I did.
It could have been an applause.
He's been studying it. Final thoughts, Chris.
Final thoughts.
Organize your gear. Take care of your kit.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead, Ben.
That's it.
That's it. Organize.
Take your moldy underwear with the crotch blown out of your bag. Take care of your kit. Take care of your rifle. Don't go see Civil War.
Yeah.
Seriously, don't go.
Yeah, don't go.
Would not recommend. 1-star review.
They've collected 25 million of their 50 million invested. So
Yeah, they'll get it back.
They're halfway in the hole.
yeah, they're halfway in the hole. They'll get it back.
Yeah.
Netflix and the others will pay them enough money to pay it back.
Lube your rifles.
Yeah.
Yeah, lube your rifle.
Make sure don't lube your Glocks,
Yeah.
That's a good one, Chris.
but lube your rifles.
Well, I will say, while you're maintaining your equipment, make sure you're also maintaining your walk with the Lord. If for my fellow believers out there, our brothers and sisters in the Lord, right now things are going to get worse. The world is falling apart. And Civil War, that movie, yes, it was terrible, but it shows that we cannot have our hope in man's world. We can't have our hope in governments or in whatever side that you're on, or a political system or whatever. You can't have hope in that. And if you do, it's pretty hopeless. Like, it's pretty bleak.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, my final thoughts: don't put your hope in Congress and people like Mike the Snake Johnson, who is a turncoat traitor.
Yeah.
Just like all of them are.
They all are.
A bunch of turncoat traitors that will sell your mother out for a stick of gum.
Yeah.
So,
And it's not even good gum.
It's not even good gum. It's 10 chew gum and it loses its flavor.
Yeah.
And adding on to keeping your hope in the Lord above all things, because everything else is just not worth its salt.
There's not a whole lot of truth out there.
Correct.
In a world of lies.
Yeah.
Lies, all lies.
So if you are listening and you're not a believer and you're curious about what that is like and want to know more, let us know. Send us a comment, send us a DM. We would love to send you a Bible, and it's also multicam, so that's cool. But we want you guys to be able to read that, and because it is the book of truth and it holds the keys to salvation. It will bring peace into your life. It will give you hope. It will lower your anxiety. It will literally change your world and give you true purpose in life. So from all of us here, thanks again for checking out a Hatchet Cast podcast. Make sure you go check out Wise Men Company on Instagram and YouTube, his own YouTube channel. And he also has a website that has tons of great gear.
WiseMenCompany.com. WiseMenCompany.com.
And also, Chris doesn't have anything. So,
Chris, what is your website?
I don't have one.
EatMyShorts.com.
rotten potatoes.
Crusty underwear.
Yeah.
No, I have a parlor, and that parlor handle is
Yeah.
I don't know because I haven't used it in months.
Chris, you are on the Barrel and Hatchet community chat, though. So
What does that mean?
You're going to have to tune in once in a while, okay?
you're going to have to tune in every once in a while. I think that you need to jump in there. You need to talk back and forth with the listeners, with the subscribers. I think you need to jump in there. You're a valued personality. And yeah, I mean, you have your personality is just very strong, and I think that you
Don't
need to
ask
bring
me
that.
about gear. Don't ask me about guns. Don't ask me about optics. Don't ask me about slings. Don't ask me about stocks. Don't ask me about gear.
What
Don't
about
ask me
underwear?
about chest rigs. Don't. Yes. He can give you tips on the best quality underwear that'll hold.
Yeah,
up.
but you don't
Even
have
if
any
it's got 50
quality.
holes in
You
it.
don't have quality underwear. Have you seen your socks?
He does. My friend Seth got me some underpants,
Your buddies had to buy you underwear.
and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what friends are for.
Buying you underwear.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any friends out there, make sure you buy them a new
That
pair of
need
underwear. Buy them a new pair of underwear. Make sure you guys are talking about the Lord if you're a believer. If you're not, get a hold of us. We would love to send you a Bible. Make sure you guys train to be the eternal asset, and we'll see you on the next one.
Same exact thing, transition targets. Yep.